election. An Associated Press release from New York on the 14th had quoted the eminent Columbia University political historian James T. Shotwell, who pontificated that AD dating did not come into general use until about 1000 AD. Whoa, that's all right. Slow down. Slow down. So, this Columbia University eminent political historian James T. Shotwell is saying that y'all didn't even start dating anything AD until about 1000 AD. My naga, we gotta slow this down, man. We've been talking about Anatoly Fomenko, and why we keep talking about Fomenko is that the more we dig, the more it lines up with what Anatoly Fomenko is breaking down, the Russian chronographer who's breaking down true history and timelines based on mathematics. And he's saying all this stuff was duplicated and spread out, and when you put it back on top of each other, the history is not that deep. It doesn't go back that far. So they had to create, and they created antiquity. They gave us these dates. They gave us a lot of fake ass artifacts, Managa. They created history, right? Right? We've been saying it. You know this, right? You would say it without even knowing anything. You would say, I know these hijacks probably created history, like they just made stuff up. Here's your proof. Chronology. The proof, Managi, is that they didn't even start dating anything AD, which you think means after Christ or something, right? Or after death, what? After Christ's death? But that wasn't until 1000. Now you know they added at least 1,000 years by now. You know they added 1,000 years to all native people on all native lands by now. You know they added this time so that they can now have 1,000-year gap to play with, right? So they can take history from the 1700s and push it back to the 700s. So even when we're reading this 775 Nehemiah, Theodorus, and Sylvanus Texas, Solomon the Builder, Sylvanus Brabo, Ogam, Swanite, connection. Even when we're connecting that in 775, like the Templars say all the time, man, you gotta put a 1 back on that. That could easily be popping off in 1700s, and how would you know? Show me your drop of the true history of the 1700s, and I'm gonna show you the Chickamauga, Manat. And what does the Chickamauga, She-Camauga have to do with the she and the Olmec? And what does the Olmec have to do with Sylvanus, Ogam, and Bravo, and the Swanites, and the Barbers, and the Templar, Monarchy? How's it got to do with the secrets? How's it got to do with Atlantis sinking and, this great flood of 899 or something like that? That's really popping off probably recently, more recently than that. You could research a California flood in the 1800s. We just born, right? We just born into this matrix, right? And we're already in the program of their version of antiquity, where X marks their spot, not our spot, their spot, right? If I say come kick it at my spot, you'll be like, oh shit, I'm about to chill at Drop's crib, man. We about to just have some great foods, about to pop off. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be great conversation. Oh man, hey, we going to Drop's spot, right? X marks the spot. Now, if the hijacks say come to my spot, shit, you might be in that courthouse, or you might be in the jail. That's their spot, man, right? So those are two different spots. When we talk about Europe, man, you're talking about a fested environment. Just research what Europe was like, in the 1500s and 1600s and 14. Like, you're talking about just bodies in the street, plague, disease. We didn't know none of that. We were in extraordinary great health. That's what we got in the American Holocaust, right? So you're tuning in, man. I'm back on these shows. We're getting them out. Everything's, just caught up like we needed to be. And we're about to be on the website real good and start getting things beautiful and just lots of new looks on the website for you. And, you know, you've been patient, my Naga, and, you know, we got it. Again, we ain't got to rush it. When we got it, my Naga. We got X marking the spot. There's 2 different spots, right? All right, so when the hijack's talking about, you know, this point in history, they're trying to put you in a different spot. When the hijack's telling you to observe their holidays and their crap, they're trying to put you in a different spot. Now, what has their spot led to for you? Captivity. You've been vanquished, subdued, captured, you know, all that stuff. You know where that spot leads. Dead or in jail. Dead or in jail. Dead or in jail. Now, where's your spot, man? So your spot, man, is these mythical. Whenever the hijack talk about you, it becomes mythical real quick, right? Now we're just in mythology. Your spot is paradise. Crystal trees, avatar flow, you know what I'm saying? Those are 2 different locations on the all is happening wave. Hey, it's all happening. When you keep the code, it's all happening for good. When you don't observe, it ain't like, well, the creator's just being mean. Nah, the creator's telling you that you gotta surf the wave. That he gave you a wave. Amma gave you a wave. Abba gave you a wave. Just like you give a wave to your children. You say, hey, you do this, we straight. Clean up after yourselves. You know, don't use that language. You know, da-da-da-da-da. We good. Show respect. I'm going to give you ultimate AI. You disrespect. Now you chose an interference pattern. And I know how to interfere, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, the hijack know how to interfere too. All these demons and devils, we call them, they are there for the interference pattern. This Satan, the devil, and all these other names is only there for the interference pattern. But at the end of the day, he serves the wave. He plays his part. In code, those energies can't fade you. They got no dominion. You talk about, you know what I'm saying? What's the dominion of this corporation and all this judicial, longitude, latitude of dominion? It's all about dominion, man. You don't give the hijack no dominion. Sylvanus told Texas is telling you, man, in that Nakamade. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep them robbers out your gates, man. You can't let your thoughts. It all begins with a thought. You can't give that thought dominion to lead to an action, you know, that you wish you could take back. Like it started with your thoughts, man. If you let them thoughts simmer around, it's gonna turn into action. So as soon as you got a thought that's covetousness, or you got a thought that's bearing false witness, or you got a thought, you know what I mean, that's thinking about murder, or, you know, stealing, you know, all that stuff, or putting a power before your power, you meditating on these hijacks too much, like, you got to get them robbers out your gates so that you can end up in a better spot. So when it comes to our spot, you got these cats like John T. Shotwell from Columbia University who's letting you know that they didn't start using AD until 1000 AD. So what were they calling it 100 years before that? There ain't no AD, my noggin. There ain't no BC, my noggin. Shit, really, there ain't no time. It's only the way. And you got checkpoints. Again, like a dancer that's spinning without getting dizzy. You know, she gotta, you know, get that point, a focal point, right? So once that dancer can have a focal point every time she's doing them spins, Michael Jackson does a spin, he needs to have a focal point or else he's out of control. You gotta have a focal point, which is the code, which is your Shabbat. Every week, you got a focal point. That's all we're talking about, so you can hit a different mark. So it's all happening. Ain't no time, but the focal point, you know what I'm saying? Your checkpoint is your checkpoint. And Anatoly Fomenko said, man, they pushed your checkpoints back 333 years first shift. All right, so they'll take something from the 1800s and push it back to like the 1500s, you know what I mean? And then the second shift is was it 54 years? So they'll take something from the 1800s and push it back 1,000 years. So it got dropped off 333 years in the past, and then it got dropped off 1,000 years in the past, and then you go back to that same event from the 1800s, and they're gonna push it back now. 1,778 years was the third major chronological time shift. So they took that event from the 1800s, and now that shit's popping off in like 45 AD. Right, so you got this history about the, so-called Christ, right, and these saints that's popping off right around 30 AD, 40 AD, 50 AD. Managa, that's another major chronological time shift, man, according to the mathematics, the astronomy, everything that's leading up to showing where the phantoms and the duplications in the timeline are happening at, man. I advise everybody to dig on that parallel timelines in history, dig on that, Anatoly Fomenko recon. He got volumes after volumes after volumes of recon, man. Just get lost in it, belly flop, and just, see if you can put your story together, because at the end of the day, they can only do so much. And notice it's happening in Russia, right? So a lot of this Russian drop, man, is the keys. You know what I'm saying? Again, think about the Byzantine Empire, right around these areas. Russia, Turkey, all that stuff, being a big focal point for our people over there. You know what I'm saying? So, I believe it's all about the vortexes, these dragon lines, these ley lines, and guarding certain areas of them. You know what I'm saying? Like the Amazon High Queens, right? All right, so let's go. There ain't no AD until 1000 AD. So the Tucson Citizen, or the publication called The Citizen, had a double encouragement from New York to rival the Star with the headline, quote, "Relic texts are cribbed from dictionary glossary." E.S. Blair, a Tucson attorney, had formerly practiced in New York City, which wrote the article, which asserted that Gaul and Sinai, S-E-I-N-E, were modern French words, that the artifact, Latin, was classical, not 8th century. It tried to be classical, but a close look reveals more 8th century construction. That Hebrew was neither known nor studied by Christians in 8th century Europe. So they're confused because they're trying to put these artifacts to the 8th century, but he's saying it couldn't have came from Europe because Hebrew wasn't even discovered there until around that time. Right. But are they even going to walk that path of saying that these artifacts are from here because this is the old world? Or are they going to keep trying to make this the new world and push things over there into the real new world? And, you know what I'm saying? Suddenly they have issues, you know what I mean? Like now they're running into these glitches, you know what I'm saying? Because they say, well, Hebrew wasn't even, what's it say? But a close look reveals more 8th century construction. Hebrew was neither known nor studied by Christians in the 8th century Europe. It wasn't known, so it's not even like they started. It says Hebrew was neither known nor studied in the 8th century Europe. So in the 700s, remember those whatever they are, they converted to Judaism under King Bulan in there. All right, so they converted under King Bulan in there, man. So that was what? The same thing, 800s, 8th century, 9th century. They just converted them. They don't have no actual connection, you know what I'm saying, to Hebrew or Israelite anything. They were just converting at that time. So you got to put it together, like, if you just converting in the 8th century, 9th century, you can't be these OG Hebrews if you're just becoming converts. You're just becoming converts to some of the ways, some of the teachings, right, that have been twisted by this Judaism